It's great to have you as a guide, looking at you, what you have done over these many years I've known you. You are a visionary, and not everybody knows this, but those who have seen you a long time know it. What you are predicting will come true. And this is the same with ZETA. Everybody needs a market in the future here. You're all developing your projects, and it's great that you're developing them. This region is fantastic for renewable project developments, but there is not yet the thinking what to do with all these exposures, because you're creating a lot of longer term exposures in the commodity which comes out of these projects. And this is why ZETA may be even the magic word of tomorrow. We will do a ZETA together rather than an EFET, because EFET is a regional organization working in Europe. And what ZETA is about global trading, because climate by definition is global. I wanted to a little bit explain to you what a clean energy hub is. Not everyone understands what it is. Also, it's not something that is new. It was invented by, I think, the Greeks or the Romans 2,500 years ago. They invented marketplaces in cities. They basically created marketplaces where everyone could meet. And here in a clean energy hub, you have a very similar situation. It's more or less a meeting place to transact. It's a meeting place to negotiate. And typically, it is there where there is a large production or a large consumption. It is typically there where there is the logistics. And we have here Bert den Ouden here, who will speak to you about high exchange. Bert 20 years ago was a pioneer in developing the first and foremost power exchange on the continent, together with Paul van Son and others at the time. And why was the exchange that also then later brought a big gas exchange? Why is it there? Well, it is there because there was production of gas in Groningen, a large field in the Northern Sea. There was consumption because the Netherlands is a very industrialized country and it neighbors the Ruhrgebiet, which is even more industrialized. So you could basically leverage off the production of the gas in that region. And you just needed to create logistics. And this is where the Dutch nation is foremost the best of the planet. Creating logistics, meaning creating ways to transport, to trade, to bring the commodities to one place to another. There is no other country in Europe that actually rivals with their experience and know-how how to do it. So it's not actually an accident that the TTF developed in the Netherlands, where you had then a possibility to have a physical title transfer in the commodity. And this is the same you have in a clean energy hub. What only thing that differs is what is actually transferred. It is not the gas, it is other commodities. It's clean commodities. It can be ammonia, can be green fuels, it can be renewable electricity. So it is actually a basket of various commodities that can be transferred over such an energy hub that operates in reality around a platform that could be essentially in the beginning a central platform, because there you need to have liquidity somewhere. But over the years, it can also be then several platforms that are connected together. We have in Europe something called Trayport that basically connects everyone, whether you are a producer, whether you're a trader, whether you're a consumer. So in reality, everybody as this wheel is connected to it. And this platform is then also the model actually for any future commodity. So you don't need to actually reinvent the wheel. We can actually just use conceptually what has been already done in the past in order to build this here. And this is why I also invited two speakers here today. One is a speaker that has done it, the green, not let's say the electricity exchange, but now the high exchange, a very exciting project to allow price discovery for hydrogen, highly complicated, but sponsored by the Dutch government. And the other one is NEOM, of course, a fantastic project of the future of the humanity ultimately. So it goes far beyond an energy-related project. This one is a project that has importance for the future of this planet, because it will show whether we are able to build an environment for us to live in a completely hostile nature. So that is another project of the future, which may meet together based on experience we've seen in the past. Now, What you need for a market is not really for a net zero market. You need nothing else but that you would need for any other market. You need confidence that it will happen. And this is what we need to create now. We need to create confidence amongst you that this can happen and that you can basically participate in it, shape it, meaning shape it as being companies, market participants, not waiting for secretariats to shape it, but you as companies, as market participants, need to shape it. Paul just said it 5 minutes ago. It's you who need to actually move forward. We are just basically helping. We're here to guide you into the direction, but ultimately it is you doing it. And that also means it's you then also shaping the activities of ZETA. It is you who sets the priorities, and we will helping to implement them. You need a stable framework. You need diverse players. By diverse players, I mean players that are there for their own reasons. Could be there because they're project developers. They know they have a commodity coming online for the next 15 years. But they don't want to take the price risk for these 15 years. So they want to see, because price fluctuate, the price of hydrogen may fluctuate. It may be very high in the beginning and lower in 10 years later. So you need to have a way to manage these risks because you are actually owning the asset that produces it. So you have these diverse players that have their own reasons for being there, either becoming a producer or you're just a trader. You're taking a risk for others. You're taking a premium for that risk-taking activity. Or you are there for other reasons. So there may be, let's say, in markets, you have different companies that are there for different reasons, but they all fit together. They all fit together and make up the liquidity which ultimately is required to make it work. And then you're ending at the tools. Well, one of the tools, Paul said it earlier, absolutely right. We need standard products, we need standard contracts, we need a way to basically enable mass transactions. These are transactions that do not require you to negotiate a contract for several months. They need you to just click. That's it. Clicking means you just agree on terms, delivery point, price, commodity, and you do it within a second. And by doing it, you create a transaction. And that transaction then leads to a title transfer. It leads to the transfer of property in that product you just sold to someone else. And then we are there. This is it. It is a very simple thing. It has been done before. It will be done here, for sure. It must come because it comes with the liquidity, with the volumes that we're going to see here, with all the large projects that's being developed. So it must come. And it allows the ones that are doing it to risk hedge. So now why are we here in the GCC? I just printed it very, very in largest size possible on these slides. Because GCC, the areas here, are going to be in the pole position for the development of these new commodities. Simply because of the general situation, how to produce electricity here. It can be basically done at such a low price that also this region can really transform itself into an area where you, for example, have steel production here. You will produce green steel, and there may be a big market for that elsewhere, for that green steel or other green commodities that will be produced here because of the situation allowing it for it. You see here the green hydrogen demand. This is just an example. I could have taken anything else, but you see an enormous scale that we will see over the next 20 years to develop. That means enormous amounts of these commodities will become available. But that means you also have exposure to these commodities. You have exposure to the prices that basically they will be traded for. And that means they need a market where you can offset these risks, and there is no other way to offset them. Notably, the long-term agreements that you may conclude now will not work, because they will become more and more difficult to find buyers who will be enabled and prepared to take over the price risks from these long-term agreements. And this is a slide which Paul van Son created. It is actually saying it all. That's why I love this slide. You don't need any other slide. It is that what ZETA is about. It is about creating virtual and physical markets that are independent from each other. So you must first think physical in terms of market creation, simply because of the fact that markets first need to be gain liquidity in order then to produce also financial markets. Because typically what you see for commodities in other regions is once you have created a physical market outset, you have created physical exposures, you then see financial markets to develop. So this is another opportunity for the GCC. You can have financial markets here based on physical markets, but you need to create these physical markets. And then there is the virtual trade. The virtual trade is that you trade not only the product, you're creating the green qualification, basically, that is expressed in certificates of origin. We call it in Europe guarantee of origin. It means, for example, in terms of electricity, that the electricity has been produced by a wind park or by a solar park, so by an approved installation that has been certified and has been registered, and the production out of that registered unit then becomes green electricity. So you can trade the qualification that is expressed in a guarantee of origin around in Europe freely. And this is obviously here the example to follow. You can create these certificates, whether they concern hydrogen, whether they concern electricity, whether they concern other commodities. We have also certificates developing, but this is something which Bert will cover more in detail. For hydrogen, we have worked together on a hydrogen certificate in the Netherlands. So this is something Bert will cover you in detail. But I mean, at the end of the day, it all follows the same track. You're creating quality, a quality meaning a label that as a unit of energy, may it be gas, may it be electricity, may it be something else, has been produced in a sustainable way, and this becomes tradable on its own. So not together with a commodity, but individually and separately. So this is it. This is ultimately, it looks a little bit like a plan for a power plant. Obviously, ultimately, Mr. von Son is an electric engineering, so from the University of Delft. So obviously, it shows even at this stage. But it does the right thing. It shows ultimately what sort of certificates you can create. It shows the independence of virtual and physical. It shows that it actually works for multiple products, being liquids or gas or methanol or whatever. And in reality, creates the same conceptual system which we would like to see here in this region and which ZETA would like to promote here. Because this is our role here, obviously, is to promote exactly that trade of emission certificates that is described here. Yeah, and this is it. So what we can learn from others that have done it, this is, I think, the key thing. We talked about it earlier. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. I have actually someone here who invented the wheel. So Bert and Auden, you invented the wheel 20 years ago in the Netherlands. We are keen to learn from you. Floor is yours. Please.